For as long as there have been video game characters, players have had an innate desire to see them in alternate outfits. Whether it's a reward for completing the game and getting all the endings like Metal Gear Solid's Tuxedo, or outfits themed to a specific level like in Tomb Raider 2 or Gex Deep Cover Gecko, the act of shaking up a character's design is a sacred tradition. G'day, I'm Jordan from It's Got Stealth, and welcome to the Samurai Unicorn development series. In this episode, we're going to talk about why we love bonus costumes so much and the way we approach designing alternate styles for Chloe. During the 5th console generation, I think developers really embraced the love of bonus costumes and the fun of being able to see the character you have been playing as dress up in an alternate outfit. This trend would continue on and only grow in ubiquity during the PS2 era. Now with the bonus costumes adding in potential perks to the experience like Ashley's knight armor, preventing her from being picked up by Ganados, or the 200% increase in orbs for the COD of War outfit. One of the more disappointing developments in the 2010s was the change from bonus costumes being something you unlocked in-game through different challenges, to pre-order bonuses and eventually microtransactions that prey on FOMO. Early explorations for Chloe's alternate looks were inspired by some of the most iconic characters from 90s games and anime, but we quickly shifted to more original costumes that could explore the world of Sydney 3 and Chloe's backstory. This is probably most obvious with the first official bonus costume we set out to create. The idea behind it being that Chloe graduated in the top 10% of a class at the academy and received the special cadet jacket as a sign of her accomplishments. While this one ties into Chloe's backstory more explicitly, other bonus outfits add texture to the world of Sydney 3, like the Frog Punk streetwear brand, the Crustacean Crusader outfit, and the Bloodsucker costume. These three being seemingly more comedic in tone, but still being grounded in the world building of the game, with an intention that will become clear once players are able to explore the streets of Sydney 3 and meet more of the citizens who inhabit it. Once the concept starts to form, I like to draw a very rough sketch of how I see it before searching for references and then sending it over to Ridge for a more comprehensive and well thought out concept to be illustrated.
When it comes to outfit designs, I'll often look at fashion illustrations or clothing patterns of that era. That way, not only will it feel authentic, even if it is over the top and anime-esque, it could also be feasibly constructed in real life. I normally start with traditional rough sketches, sometimes I detail it, sometimes I don't. What matters for me most is the shape, general vibe, and what points to accentuate. Once I've cleared the initial sketches with Jordan, I move to digital, working off my original sketch as a base. From here, I'll start to focus on gesture, shape language, and what feeling I'm trying to elicit. One thing I always ask is the type of fabric we intend for an outfit. This way, I know how to render it correctly, if it requires weight, or how it drapes across the body. Sometimes, I'll find said fabric just to take photos and see how it looks. Finally, I'll start with some flat colors by choosing a defining palette, adding line weight, and then the final touches such as highlights or textures to truly help the outfit pop.
In translating the concept sketches and references to a 3D model for the game, I tend to look at what techniques will be needed to make it unique and eye-catching at low resolution and polygon count. Things like alpha channel cutouts and controlled edge shading help push a model from good to great, and I try to incorporate as much of the detail as possible that was conveyed in the conceptual stages. The important thing is to keep any new outfits conforming to the skeleton of the character in question's rig, in this case, Chloe. Having a large, bulky, or other drastic elements deviating from the original design introduce problems with clipping and existing animations, so I try and dial them in to fit. It'll never be exactly perfect, and it's taken a while to be comfortable with that fact, but it is worth it sometimes to push the design to its limits for the art style. I normally begin by taking Chloe's default outfit, her black casual wear and trailing overcoat, and thinking about what elements can be fundamentally kept the same and what can be altered or built upon. This keeps things relatively on model, and I constantly flip back and forth to double check that things aren't getting too crazy. I break the completed model back down into symmetrical shapes and isolated limbs, allowing me to work on them individually to develop the new design. Barring some exceptions, the designs try to stay symmetrical, so I can squeeze more detail out of the mirrored textures. I closely follow the sketch from Ridge and make sure key points are hit, delving into the reference photos if something gets real confusing, but that rarely happens. When the model's done, we double check that the model is hitting all the right aspects of the initial concept. Then it's on to texturing. A lot of the heavy lifting comes from the sketches here, so guesswork is all but nullified and makes my job very easy. I usually work by blocking out the sections of the outfit based on fabric or clothing material, choosing tiny pixel level textures that closely give that vibe of said material. It's never an exact science, but it's enough to push the difference between elements of the outfit. I try to make the colors all harmonize under the initial idea, opting for a dominant color or two with accents that slot into smaller elements to tie it all together, like gold or gray metals. When that's finished, I collapse the model all back down again into a single mesh, usually, reweight the model to be affected by the rig skeleton again to make sure that it still works at all, and then I export it out for the game.
Some might say it's way too early in the development process to be worrying about alternate costumes, but I hope this installment of the dev series explains explains why we are so enthusiastic about making them right now. In a future episode, we'll return to the subject and explore how we ended up implementing them in-game, as well as our plans for how players will be able to switch between them once they have been unlocked. Well, that will do us for this episode of the Dev Series. If you'd like to support the project, please wishlist the game on Steam and consider subscribing to our Patreon or joining the Samurai Unicorn Discord community. Until next time, thanks for watching.